Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 64 of the All Dolphins podcast. And for this one, there can only be one player we recognize with this jersey number, mainly because it's the only one I can remember off the top of my head. And no, I have not gotten to the point where I'm looking at information with jersey numbers. So, top of my head, the only 64 I can remember is Ed Newman, offensive lineman, 70s and early 80s, who later became, fun fact, a judge in Miami-Dade County.
Okay.
Very good offensive lineman.
I'm trying to remember what number was Jamie Nails. You probably know it off the top of your head.
I don't.
Florida A&M Rattler.
Yeah, I remember he was really good in 2002, that 1 year where Ricky Williams had the monstrous season. Jamie Nails was really good that 1 year and then didn't work out so well. Jamie Nails was
76. Okay. No, I'm 66.
Okay.
74 and 66.
Okay, see, there you go.
Yes, I actually covered him at Florida A&M, and he was the university that I went to, and he's 66. So I'm gonna expect him to be in the running in 66.
But now you gave it away. Now you gave it away. Large human being, as I recall, also.
Yes, one of the largest human beings I ever knew.
Yeah, big dude. So today is Sunday, September 3rd. We are back in action with Dolphin practice tomorrow. They have been off this weekend. Last time until, well, the bye, but other than the bye, until hopefully deep into January, maybe into February. So we thought today we'd do fan questions since there hasn't been any roster moves or news this weekend. So Omar, you take it away.
Let's get it going with, I know this is a favorite question is yours because you asked Mike McDaniel this question during a media session and he kind of poo-pooed your idea. Toby asked, do you think it's possible they play Ramsey at safety when he comes back?
Oh, he'll take snaps at safety, yes. Or wherever, however they might phrase it. The dude did that with the Rams last year. We actually think that Vic Fangio's not going to use him at that spot. Yes, absolutely.
For a guy like Travis Kelce, it makes sense. But I think Jalen doesn't necessarily want to be known as a safety. He wants to go down in the history as one of the great cornerbacks until he's forced to move to safety if he wants to continue to play in the later years of his career.
But this is where we can get caught into semantics because his role last year with the Rams, they didn't call it safety. I star or joker, I don't recall one of those two, but it was kind of pretty much a safety spot. So yes, he will be. I don't believe he's going to be used exclusively as an outside cornerback upon his return. That's my guess.
Okay, our next question comes from Chef. What rookie will surprise Dolphin fans by season's end, good or bad?
You want to tackle that one first?
I'm going to go with Chris Brooks, as we've discussed in probably the last couple of podcasts. With Jeff Wilson down and sideline, I think Chris Brooks has an awesome chance, if he can learn and master the playbook, to contribute right away, especially in the beginning of his rookie season. He brings a skill set that this team needs, that Jeff Wilson kind of filled in terms of those hard inside tackle, short yardage plays. It really comes down to how much he digests the playbook, but that's the rookie that I think is going to surprise people.
Okay, and I'm going to be that guy because I am that guy, and go since the question was about surprise, positively or surprise negatively, and I'm going to say this only with a caveat that I think expectations are unrealistic for that dude right off the bat, and that's Devon Achane. I think a lot of Dolphin fans see the speed, read the Jalen Waddle comments during training camp, where Waddle, of course, is singing the praises of his young teammate because that's what players are going to do. And I think some Dolphin fans have this idea that all of a sudden he's going to, completely light up the NFL as a rookie. I would say slow the roll a little bit. I think make some plays, but maybe not to the extent some folks think.
I would argue to you, and I really am trying to put this in not be, he might be the smallest running back I've ever seen. And I've seen some small running backs. He gives me, he's 5 foot. What is he listed at? 5'9", 188 pounds, and I think both are generous in terms of size-wise. He just doesn't come across like that, and that doesn't mean anything because backs have been small. Look at Mark Higgs, right?
I was going to bring him up. Yes,
I knew you were going to bring him up. I like backs, tiny backs from this standpoint. They can hide behind the offensive line and then pop out.
Mm-hmm.
And he certainly has the speed to pop out. I just worry about his durability in the NFL. That's one of the issues where, I live by the Bill Parcells, if you keep making exceptions, next thing you know, you got a team full of exceptions rule. And size molds are important for those reasons. But I'm excited to see what he can do when the ball's in his hand. I'm more focused on what he does between tackles, not all those little gadget plays. As you know, based on my Jakeem Grant experience, I am not a fan of gadget players.
Yeah, I like the other Parcells quote is, the one where if they don't bite when they're puppies, they're not going to bite when they're grown dogs.
Yeah. Matthew asks, if you could count fullback into your tight end group, wouldn't you consider them a stronger unit this year if they utilize Ingold as the inline tight end because of the unpredictability of whether we will block and receive in the red zone, unpredictability of whether or not he will block or receive in the red zone?
No, I know. I know what your answer is going to be because you're all like flowers and Valentine cards.
I like the guy.
I love the guy, and I like the guy. I like the guy too. But to quote somebody you well know and love, let's not pretend he's a tight end. He's a fullback.
No. But he can do inline blocking. He can do inline blocking.
Yes,
I was surprised at that.
Okay, but if it's not, you actually expect him to go out into a pattern and be the defender. And then he catches passes, generally speaking, it's off a play fake where defenses don't account for him. I mean, this is where
I didn't say he was a seam threat tight end. I didn't put that on him. But
no, I don't see tight end as an upgrade. When they lost Mike Gesicki, who was a clear pass catching weapon, and they didn't replace him, and they had Alec Ingold last year, and just because maybe we might use him more in the pass catching role, no, I'm not buying it personally.
I think Alec Ingold goes up 200 snaps this season. Well, mark my words on it. I think he was like at 435 last year.
I literally will mark your words.
Yes,
up 200 snaps. Go ahead.
Okay, I think he's going to go up to 200 snaps.
Okay.
Miami Mark asks, is Chosen coming back? How concerned are you about losing Wilson to the start of the year? And how do you feel about week 1 against the LA Chargers right now?
My Lord, that's a lot of questions.
I know that's a 3-for-1.
Well, what I do when I do a mailbag, and I am going to have another mailbag today, for multiple parts, I do rapid fire answers. So 50-50, not concerned. Don't do predictions until the Saturday before the game. How's that?
You think it's 50-50 that Chosen comes back?
Yeah, I'm starting to think. I kind of thought it was a slam dunk that he would at first, and then I'm starting to think that like they already have 6 on the active roster. They have Braylon Standers on the practice squad. Chosen doesn't play special teams.
He falls into the realm of I'm not going to use that as an excuse because you can put him on the practice squad, but he falls into the realm of veterans where if they're on your 53-man roster for week 1, their entire contract is guaranteed.
Correct.
So that could be the reason why he's not signed. I think he's clearly better than some of these practice squad players, but that's, neither here nor there. Will he be willing to play on the practice squad or be on the practice squad? I don't know. Maybe he's waiting till week 2 for everybody in the NFL. I thought he did enough to prove that he could help. And until he signed to another team, he's still going to be out there and still going to be available. In terms of how concerned are you about losing Wilson?
Sorry, hold on. So my percentage, I said 50-50. What's your percentage on him returning?
I put it at 50. I put it at 40-60. I think maybe this holdout is, hey, maybe I'm going to go somewhere else. He belongs in the NFL. Now, who can he help? Comes down to who believes in this character that he has, the perception, and who can get past it. But hell, teams need wide receivers like Chosen.
I agree.
And how concerned are you about losing Wilson to the start of the year? I'm not really. He's going to come back a month into the season fresh. Let's just say the finger and the ribs are broken. Let's just hypothetically say that. That puts him at week 5. He'll come back fresh legs and be ready to rock. And you'll know what you have in Chris Brooks and Devon Achane and Savon Ahmed. And truthfully speaking, and I hate to be this guy, but this is who I am. One of the backs will be hurt by then. Easy peasy. Just swap them out.
Do you have like voodoo dolls like in somewhere in your house and you stick pins in them so that they get hurt? I mean,
You know what it is? It's just it's just, and you've done this for twice as long as I have. The reality is the NFL, it's 100% guaranteed you're going to get hurt.
Yep.
And you are going to lose one guy to every unit. Think about your history over the years. You're losing one guy to every unit. That's just the reality of it.
Oh God, you just gave me a research project, man. So I'm gonna look up the last time the Dolphins went an entire season without putting a player at a specific position on IR. And by the way, and for the last question,
it doesn't have to be IR. They could just miss a month.
Well, no, that's even more research. It's easier to just do IR.
Yeah.
No, I'm guessing you and I at some point. I don't know if we'll actually do score predictions, but at some point we'll like preview the game and give an idea of how it's going to look like. And it'll be a lot closer to game time than a week.
Yeah. And if you have a suggestion or idea that you want to see for the season, go ahead and fire it in the comment section and we'll read it. We're open to anything. We really are. We just
within reason.
Come on, Poupart. We'll do anything.
I am not singing on this show. Sorry, I'm not doing that.
Is that where you draw the line?
Singing. Not that you'd want me to.
All right. With so many forgotten Fin fan, with so many injuries in the past, do you think the Dolphins or at least a good amount of players can be healthy most of the season? We just answered that like no.
There will be injuries. The thing is keeping your key players healthy as much as possible. And no, we can't predict that.
Jeffrey asked, what increase in rushing attempts per game do you think there will be comparison to last season? 10%, 20%?
Good question.
That is a phenomenal question. And I am of the opinion, based on what I know of Mike McDaniel before he came here, based on what I know about who taught Mike McDaniel in terms of Mike Shanahan and the offensive line coach with the San Francisco 49ers, whose name I shall not say, Chris Forster. Listen, these are the people who taught him what he knows about football and helped him become a head coach in the NFL. And you know what? The fundamental element and specialty, he was like, everybody was all obsessed about the passing game. I realized if I wanted to work my way up this league, I had to do it as a run game specialist. And he did it. And he was a pretty damn good one and led productive rushing attacks wherever he's been. Last year was productive numbers wise, but really it was a situational thing where they didn't feel comfortable enough to run. What I will say is, I think a lot of that had a byproduct to do. Well, don't give me that look. What's that look for? What's the problem?
Yeah, go ahead, finish your point, and I will tell you what this is for.
Okay. I think last year was a byproduct of the offensive line was not coached well. It was also injury decimated. Frank Smith had to babysit the unit, and they really couldn't teach them the aiming points, angle points, the finer points of building a wide zone run scheme, an outside zone run scheme. And I think this year, Butch Barry, if I had to give a round of applause to anybody based on what they've done in the preseason, it would go to Butch Barry, because I came in very skeptical and I like what I've seen. You could give Savon the 2 big runs and Miles got a big run, but isn't that the point of every offense? The whole point of the wide zone scheme is to bust a big one. And, so they've had sustained success running when they need to run, and then they bust a big one. Okay, it leads to the 3rd most productive rushing attack in the preseason. That, to me, is a step in the right direction. I like what I've seen from Austin Jackson in the run game. I think Robert Hunt is good in the run game. I know Connor Williams is good in the run game. And I know Teron Armstead is going to help you in the run game. So only concern I got is Isaiah Wynn. So, and we shall see.
Okay, and here's why I gave you the side face. Yeah, Mike McDaniel established his reputation as a run game coordinator, running game guru, if you will. Then the Dolphins got the possibility of acquiring Tyreek Hill, which changed everything. Dolphins paid a big penny. Now you're doing the face. The Dolphins paid a pretty penny to get Tyreek Hill, both in terms of draft compensation and in terms of the contract they gave him. So it would be completely silly, obviously, not to make full use or as much use of his talents as possible. And not only that, Mike McDaniel is a very smart guy. Went to Yale, by the way. I don't know if you were aware. Once the Dolphins got Tyreek Hill, all of a sudden, if you don't think the wheel starts spinning inside McDaniel's head of like, wait a second. Yeah, right. Love my running game, but this guy's the speed and the things I can do with that speed. And then if the Dolphins, my concern in terms of focusing more on the running game in 2023, which I think would be beneficial, but if that were really the case, do you draft another speedster, smallish running back in the 3rd round when you have a screaming need for a tight end, blocking tight end, or offensive lineman?
You like who you like. You like who you like.
But it's exactly. And what Mike McDaniel likes right now is speed. This is the element that the Dolphin offense has in bigger supply than probably any other team in the NFL.
Okay.
And Dolphins' success last year, they had a lot of success until things went south a little bit in November. And this is where we can get into a debate of, is that kind of a scheme sustainable for an entire season? Where
that's it
changes, but correct.
That's it.
But
it's not. And
but here's the thing:
it's not.
No. I think I agree with you. But do you think it's possible that Mike McDaniel is like, will make the adjustments necessary once we get to that point of the season, that we should not? This is who we are. This is our strength. And Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, their speed and the problems that they present, that's what gets us going on offense.
Listen, every single interview that I've heard with Mike McDaniel in podcast settings or his comedian friends sitting down with Rich Eisen, there has been a underlying emphasis and focus on, hey, I'm going to get back to who I was. I forgot all about that. I'm going to run the damn ball and show these teams that, hey, I could play my style of football and still have these fancy Ferraris and Maseratis out here. And I think that it's a beautiful element to add. You can have an SUV, a Suburban in your garage with your Ferrari and your convertible coupe. Like, it diversifies what you can ride out in.
But if you're paying, I don't know the cost of cars these days. I'm an SUV guy. If you're paying $200,000 for your Ferrari, are you going to keep it in the garage a lot more than not?
Yes, you generally, people who own Ferraris don't drive them.
Okay, then the next question is, are the Dolphins that kind of a rich team that has all these toys?
I think you're going to see an uptick of 15% more runs, to answer the question. And I dare anybody to tell me differently, because
I will. You just challenged me. 10%. There you go.
It is the coach's DNA. It is the one thing that will help Tua Tagovailoa. It will help these offensive linemen. It will help balance out the passing game. And on top of that, it will help your defense. It is the number one strategy in my mind to help you improve as a team. Run the damn ball. You don't have to be pass obsessed, because you know what? In December and in January, when the elements change and when teams are banged up, you know who teams don't want to see in December? Those running teams.
The Tennessee Titans.
Yes, they don't want to see those running teams in December because their bodies are on fumes. And if you're going to bludgeon me into submission, I don't want to play you. So that's who you need to become. That's why the 49ers have had the level of success that they've had in December and in January over the years. Now,
I agree with your philosophical point. My position, though, however, is it's not who the Dolphins are in terms of personnel. They don't have the personnel to be that team. Are you really? Would you disagree with me?
Jeff Wilson and Raheem Mostert contributed 1,700 rushing yards last season. Yes, Wilson's stats from the 49ers.
Okay.
But if they can give you 1,700 yards.
Very, very well said.
like you're telling me that those two guys who gave you 1,700 yards can't give you 1,700 yards in this offense, not even counting what Savon can do or what Devon Achane can do or what Chris Brooks will contribute.
It's, again, to me, it's not a question of the numbers. It's a question that's not the identity of the offense. And I don't know, as much as Mike McDaniel says it in the offseason and maybe truly believes it, that when push comes to shove, I think it's going to be very tough for him not to default to going with the Tyreek and Waddle. Anyway, next question.
And let me ask you this question.
No, go ahead.
If this is a better run blocking O-line, and I suspect they might be a better run blocking O-line than they are a pass blocking O-line, does that alter your thought process at all?
No, and I am of the opinion they do need to run more, especially when it's effective, which they did. I think the Cleveland game last year was a perfect example. But I think ultimately, again, it's like, what's the essence of good coaching? You maximize your strengths, and you minimize your weaknesses. And
okay.
Then, what's the strength of this offense? It's Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle.
Okay, touche, fair. Vince fan in Connecticut asks, how can the Dolphins justify carrying no true center? Connor Williams has 1 year of experience. Eichenberg has even less experience and has already lost 3 starting jobs in his short career.
Oh, man.
He's telling the truth.
Oh, you put it that way, that's harsh. Was Connor Williams not a fine center last year? I mean, seriously? I think we're focusing on maybe a little bit too much on the shotgun snapping issues he had in the preseason. I think let's answer this question, revisit this question a month down the road if the shotgun issues continue.
Absolutely. Swimmer 3M asks, which defender is going to lead the Dolphins in turnovers?
You want to go first?
Xavier Howard. Come on.
I knew that. Very tight competition between Howard and Holland. I'm going to go Howard also.
Okay. We kind of agree. Yes. Bag of Donuts asks, is it paranoia or should I lower my expectations for the Dolphins this season? Let me begin this answer. If your expectations were to be AFC East champions and AFC champions, like some Dolphin fans who I've heard because they saw all these additions and Vic Fangio and whatever, then I say yes, lower your expectations just a tad. I think you'll be a contender for the AFC East. I think you'll have to have a effective run game, be one of the leaders in turnovers, and be relatively injury-free or a healthy team in order to challenge for the AFC championship. That's what I think. So I'm at 10 wins realm for this team. I don't know where you are.
No, well, this is what I've said. The issue again, Dolphins made the playoffs last year with Tua missing 4 games. They made some clear additions in the offseason, none bigger than Vic Fangio. Problem is the conference. And I keep going back to the same thing. The conference, and there's so many good teams. And I said this before, I'm going to say it again. I see Buffalo, KC, and Cincinnati as maybe a notch above the group. And then throw in the same bag, Jacksonville, the Chargers, Pittsburgh, Baltimore, Cleveland, the Jets, and the Dolphins.
Did you throw in the Browns?
I did.
Okay.
Oh, absolutely. And so that's more, there are more playoff caliber teams in the AFC than there are playoff spots. So, and then I think it's absolutely fair and right for the Dolphins to have high hopes, because if things fall right, Yeah, they could easily win the AFC East. But it's not one of those where if they don't make the playoffs, it's a calamity and everybody should be fired. I don't think it's quite that simple.
No, I don't disagree with you. If they don't make the playoffs, they don't make the playoffs.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
think it's a slam dunk again, just because of how good the AFC is. The AFC is just, if the Dolphins were in the NFC, be like, start with the playoffs and work your way from there.
Mm-hmm. Roy Lathan asked a question that I figured we can knock out. Any talks about adding Melvin Ingram?
Haven't heard anything, and it's not like the Dolphins have been needed for an edge defender, especially when they're carrying Emmanuel Ogbah as a number 3 guy at $15 million this year. Yeah.
Why you had to bring up that man money like that? Damn.
Well, good for him that he got it. I mean,
yeah, like put his money all in the mix.
Well, because you're not signing, because I don't think you're signing Melvin Ingram for the veteran minimum. That's why I brought up Ogbah.
Yeah, you're not. You're absolutely not. Eddie C asks, are they waiting to add veteran depth at D-line, middle linebacker, or safety corner after the first week?
Not safety, I don't think.
They need some safety, but I don't think there's any safety.
They have plenty of safeties, and if you want to make the argument that they need to upgrade the one safety spot opposite Javon Holland, sure, I won't fight you on that one. But who you're going to get at this point is going to be a clear upgrade over either Deshaun Elliott, Brandon Jones, Verone McKinley, or Elijah Campbell when he's ready to play.
I don't know. You're right.
Okay.
I think it'll be interesting to see what happens in week 2. If there are some guys that veteran contracts for vested veterans, they become guaranteed at week 1. The Dolphins can avoid that, as will every NFL team, by waiting until week 2 to sign players so that their contracts are not guaranteed. Elliot Guzman asks, with the practice squad players added, are you intrigued by any, and do you see any having a special role on special teams?
Well, first let's get them activated on the roster or elevated. My understanding is Joshua Kalu, formerly the Tennessee Titans.
You stole my name.
Oh, sorry. You go first. No.
You already stole it. Go ahead and take it. You already stole it.
Yeah, Kalu, maybe. Well, now I'm going to throw out another name. You're going to be like, damn, you stole another name. Go ahead. You can have the next name.
Kalu played 711 snaps on special teams, which is a lot of snaps. Mm-hmm. And he definitely can help you in that gunner role. I'm curious to see, when you watch the season opener against the Chargers, I want you to do me a favor. And when you see the first punt by the Miami Dolphins, I need you to watch those 2 guys on the ends who are taking on 2 blockers who are trying to throw them into the Gatorade table. And their job is to get down there to create a fair catch situation. And if they don't do their job, then it'll be a return situation. And you know how it sometimes ends up.
It would never happen against the Dolphins. I'm sorry, what?
So I want you to make sure that you pay attention to who's out there on the boundaries playing that gunner role, because it's a very important role. And if you don't have good gunners, you're going to give it up a lot. You're going to be hoed out on special teams. So you better make sure you got good gunners. And I think that's been one of the major reasons why the Dolphins have done some roster decisions that they've done, like keeping River Craycraft, because River can play gunner along with all 3 receiver spots. Signing Justin Bethel, even though he's hurt, because Justin Bethel's a 12-year veteran player who's contributed as a gunner, gone out and made that trade for Kelvin Joseph. Look at that. I remember his name. See?
Very good. Good job.
Signing a Perry Nickerson. You better make sure you're good there, because if you're not good there, you're going to give it up.
Okay.
What was the question? Practice squad. You did answer that question.
I did.
CJ asked, who's the alpha on defense?
Christian Wilkins.
Yeah, I mean, he's the alpha on the entire team.
Yeah. Tyreek's an alpha also.
That's a good point. Tyreek is an alpha as well. Tyreek, Christian, name the captains.
which we will find out at some point, maybe Monday, maybe Wednesday. Uh,
Two is one.
Tua, Tyreek, Teron Armstead on offense, Wilkins X on defense.
X, you name an X captain?
He's a captain last year.
Oh, was he? I didn't know that. Okay.
Duke Riley or Andrew Van Ginkel on special teams.
So we're going 6, Duke Riley or Andrew Van Ginkel on special teams. Okay. All right. Cool. No kickers, punters? No?
No.
I forget who went and got Cam Smith for special teams meeting. There was somebody who came and got him. You weren't, I don't know if you were in the locker room then.
I was writing the Ingold extension.
Yeah. He was like, oh, we got a special team meeting? I love those, like, surprise special team meeting. From young players, like they never know when they have a special teams meeting.
So who's your pick for special teams captain?
I don't know the team well enough to be honest with you. I could not tell you. I guess Duke, maybe. Yeah. Who was special teams captain last year?
Great question. And I don't remember.
Okay. We can look it up.
Yes.
Robert Hunt and Lester Cotton. This question comes from Phil Fan. It's like Phil Fan analyst, all in one word.
Okay, got it. Yeah, I know the dude.
Yeah, and he asked a great question, by the way.
Yes.
Robert Hunt and Lester Cotton are not your prototypical wide zone guards, and they are not.
Correct.
Is this some hybrid Mike McDaniel power wide zone, or just due to general scarcity at the O-line position? And let me begin this answer.
Yeah, it's all yours. You're the offensive line guru.
Because one of my biggest issues about Robert Hunt is that he's not the prototypical guard. Mm-hmm. But Mike McDaniel made it work in San Francisco with a guard who signed a massive free agent deal with the New York Jets. I can't remember his name right now. And
Laken Tomlinson, is that what you're talking about?
Who?
Laken Tomlinson.
There you go. And he also was not your prototypical guard. And I remember talking to their left tackle, Trent Williams. Mm-hmm. I remember talking to Trent Williams. We did a I Am Athlete episode with him, and this was when Mike McDaniel had just been hired. And I was just like, because I'm obsessed with line play. You know that's my thing. That's my thing. And I asked him, how did it work with Lake? Because he didn't necessarily fit that mold. And I was primarily asking because of Robert Hunt. And he's like, you know what? You play to their strengths as opposed to requiring them to athletically get out there at 11 yards. If your upper body's strong, you just turn a guy, and then somebody else that gets to the second landmark. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh, okay, all right. And I don't know if I ever used all of that stuff that Trent gave me about McDaniel and about the wide zone. It was so, because the wide zone is something that I've been obsessed and infatuated with since the Denver Broncos had such great success with it and cutting guys. And what I always find interesting is this team does not cut guys. And I've never really been a fan of the cutting aspect of it because I think it's a dirty play and defenders absolutely hate it. But when you do it, they're terrified of you. Mm-hmm. And if you do start, it's a high risk situation. And when you don't have that much depth on your offensive lines, like the Dolphins, you generally can't do it. But can you imagine if this team was good enough to actually be cutting people? Oh. Anyway, that's just, a thought that I had. Matt Christensen asked a good question. Does Mike McDaniel have what it takes to be successful in Miami long term?
He said 1 year they made the playoffs.
And you know who did that also? Adam Gase.
Tony Sperano.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dave Wanstead. No, they're a number. Why wouldn't he? He's very, very smart, obviously. He needs to show that, and this is where we go back to the running game pass question. He needs to find that delicate balance over there. There were clock management issues last year, which he's very well aware of. But he's a right guy. He's got a good rapport with his player. They all seem to respect him. So I don't see any reason. Let's just say I feel more confident at this point than I do maybe after year one of Adam Gase. Where it seemed like the 2016, I don't want to say it was fluky, but holy smokes, it's like every break went their way in 2016 to make the play.
That's true.
I mean, holy moly. More so than like really good coaching. And then there were games last year.
So you would put last year on really good coaching.
That was part of it. I would say for most of the season, to me, it looked like the Dolphins had out-schemed their opponents. Now, there were exceptions, and one of those was a Chargers game, which needs to be mentioned because that's the first opponent this year. But for the most part, I think the
49ers
Dolphins,
too. 49ers just beat the tar out of them.
Except they were plays to be made there against. That's the thing about that 49ers game. They were plays to be made there. That was the one game. If I'm going to pick like the worst game of Tua last year, there were two that stands out. Pittsburgh, where that was his first game back. And if it wasn't for the Steelers dropping picks the entire night, it would have been a problem. And in San Francisco, there were opportunities there. And I know the 49ers dropped back their linebackers and all that, but there were throws to be made that Tua just missed. Against the Chargers, looked at me, they were completely out-schemed that night. And that just did not happen very often last year. And that's, to me, that's a good sign.
I'm going to make it a priority to watch all three of those games again this week because, my question about Mike McDaniel is, can he adjust when adversity comes? Mm-hmm. They want answers. That's the one thing I've always learned about these coaches. When the struggles come and the losing streaks come, the players are looking at you like, okay, brother, you're the head coach. Give us the answers. And you have to have the answers. If you don't have the answers, then they lose all respect and lose credibility. I don't think Mike McDaniel came up with answers in December. I think they just got off the losing skid. And
against at the time a very bad Jets team. Sorry,
yes, I need to know that you have the answers. And I don't know if I got that answer last year. And once players realize you don't have the answers, then they're like, oh, God, dog it, we're doing this again. And, and then they're off the train. Mike McDaniels, he's Mr. Nice Guy. He's Mr. Friendly. And Adam Gase did that too, until Adam Gase started throwing you off the bus and players lost all respect for him, throwing you under the bus. So we shall see. Obviously, this has been a great session with answering your questions. We look forward to doing this. We will continue to do this every week during the season. It's kind of an extension of X's Omar, which is what I used to do with the Sun Sentinel. Again, if you have any ideas that you want for us to do during the season, suggest them. Who knows? We might actually get into it and like say, oh, that's not a bad idea. Once again, thank you for watching the All Dolphins podcast. Like, subscribe, follow. More importantly, tell a friend. Just tell 2 Dolphin friends that you know, hey, you should check out this podcast.